Hey everybody, it's Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today I'm going to show you how you can paint this father and son swimming in watercolor using the line and wash technique step by step. Absolutely going to break everything down. On the mic is my husband, John.
Hello.
He's going to help me bring you this lesson by making sure that our cameras are zoomed in on techniques, that you can really see the materials I'm using, the colors that I'm using, all the choices that are going on so you can follow along at home. Now, there's several different ways that you can follow along. One of these is that we have a kit that matches what I'm using here, and it comes with the color sheets with my custom colors, and it comes with 8 printouts, 2 of each design of the line and washes that we've been doing. So you can take a couple of tries on that on 9 by 12, 140 pound cold press watercolor paper, and it's what I'm using, so you can get the exact same result. Or, because we don't actually expect people to buy stuff to paint with us, you can print out the traceable, and you can print it on your own watercolor paper if your printer is able to do that, or do a line transfer and use waterproof ink and use your own watercolors. Now, if you have your own watercolors and they're different than mine, you can still do this. And the moderators, the little people with the wrenches, there are art ambassadors. What they'll do is they'll get you a link to the watercolor blog, which is also in the description down below. And that will help you make exchanges. So it'll show you what the pigments are, what they look like, and what their pigment exchanges are in my previous set. And really that blog just has answers from the beginning of our watercolor courses, like all the way back to the first Watercolor Wednesday. The other way you can do is maybe you're one of the 3 lucky people who won one of the bundle sets from our giveaway last week to celebrate 10,000 subscribers. We will be announcing them live in the show. They have been notified in their comments, never by text. We did have a really unfortunate event where somebody specifically targeted and trolled us. I mean, like, they picked my image from a whole nother channel and brought it over to pretend to be me. It was really quite maniacal. And we're trying to direct people to text them. Something you should know, we always do the giveaway through support@theartsherpa.com, because that's an email you can trust. It's an email that you know, and you know that your information is never going to be out there, that we're going to protect your safety and data like the way we want our own safety protected. Now, we did get the troll and report them a bunch. And hopefully YouTube will take their thing down, but we got them all blocked and all those comments.
I'm gonna make a special request today. If you're here watching, say hi in chat if you can.
Yes.
Because I'm spying to see with my little eyes if one of our winners is in chat today.
Are you?
I'm trying to, because they changed names, so not everybody uses the same name.
Oh no, I recognize their names from the show.
Oh, okay. Well, so
yeah.
We'll have to keep. Well, I don't always. So Cinnamon may know. She's got eyes. She's eyes.
Yeah, and those are going to be in the comments, and they've got 3 days of response. There's a bunch of ways. Would you like to announce one of the winners here at the beginning of the show?
Sure.
Actually, we can just do that just in case they're coming for just the winners.
Okay.
Because this is our validation that the giveaway is real, as you see me saying and John saying words out of our mouth.
Okay, so we'll just do the first one. We'll start with the first one. The first winner is Brenda Alvey.
Brenda Alvey.
That's right. Brenda Alvey. I know you have to like...
Congratulations. If you see Brenda, let her know to check her comment. She will have an email directing her to email us at the website. She'll have under her comment. Congratulations! You won a kit! All right.
I'm sorry if I mispronounced the name. That's why there's any trepidation. So yay! Okay. So
now, the other important thing we're doing in this is I'm going to show you with the mermaid. A lot of you guys were like, I loved it, but I don't know how you painted those teeny tiny faces. I do paint teeny tiny faces pretty well. I did this with my brush, and I just do the highlights with the white Posca pen, but I do this with my brush. Now, here's the thing. I have a workaround or a hack for that. So if you're having any trouble with getting tiny faces, I'm going to tell you what my hack is, and it's going to change everything for you. If you're having any trouble with brush control or details, this is the workaround to do until you get a better brush or you get more hand control over your details. Everyone is celebrating Brenda, which I think is awesome. I dropped my watercolors.
I was making adjustments to the other screen.
Now, when I do the watercolor sheets, I'm going to tell you what color I'm using. If you're using pigment, make sure you have a printout or a download of the exchange sheet, so you're not like, what is it? And we're going to break this down into steps and then timestamp that. How's that sound? All right. Oh, and yes, happy Hallmark Day, everyone. The day before Half Off Chocolate Day.
That's right. It's the day before
Half Off Chocolate Eve.
You know,
a very sacred holiday.
that is our favorite holiday. It's Half Off Chocolate Day.
All right. So I'm going to open up to my peacock blue, and I am going to grab... I had it out earlier, and then I must have thrown it on the ground. I don't know.
I do like January 5th Return Day, where everything goes on clearance that was returned.
There it is.
That's also
like, it went missing on me, guys. All right, so I'm going to start with the Raphael number 14 Soft Aqua. This is artificial squirrel. It is no actual squirrels, and I'm going to get it wet with just clean water. And we're going to do some wet blooming techniques, and I'm going to paint the area around our swimmers, our father and son swimmers, right, with the water very carefully. I may even put my glasses on because that's my first tip. If you're having any trouble seeing, improve your vision. I always paint better when my vision is improved. So I'm getting this all wet. I am on an angle, guys. My surface is angled up about, what is the degree of this, do you think, John? Some degree of angle.
Low. I'd say it's maybe 20 degrees.
Yeah, but it does cause sometimes my pigment to run down, and if you're wanting the exact effect, my mom's husband, John Little, had pointed it out to me that I was on a tilt and people might not know, and I was like, that is really true. You might not know that because John works very hard to not make the surface tilted with the camera. Now, once I get that pre-wet, I'm going to go ahead and take my peacock blue, which if you have the exchange sheet is like basically phthalo blue. And I'm going to come from the outside. And you can see it does want to kind of run down because gravity works. And I'm going to work that through. Now, sometimes what I'll do is I will pull a little water off with my brush to control everything. And I'm keeping the strongest part of my pigment to the outside here. And that's because I'm wanting sort of a darker ring around the swimmers. Now you can do these differently than me. The nice thing about a line and wash, this is where the lines are waterproof. And you can get that with pencil or Pitt pen, anything that says waterproof, any ink, any of that. And then you can do washes over it, and the lines help anchor, I think beautifully anchor, your paintings. So I'm going to just pick up a little bit of the pigment on the inside. And I might come back with my toe of my brush kind of heavily loaded and halo the outer ring. That did sound like a space thing, didn't it? I just like to darken that up. And I'm going to go ahead and sort of tap this a bit around. See, I'm lifting and my brush up and I'm dropping down and kind of creating... Did you just die?
No.
That sounded terrible over there. What happened? Were you attacked by a squirrel? What happened?
Yeah, I could say that.
I mean, I wish you'd seen it. Arms and legs just went everywhere over at the corner of my eye. John's like 6'4", so that's a substantial visual. So I'm just tapping up and down here, and I'm going to allow that to continue to bloom, and I'm going to rinse out this brush really, really well. Let's do a safety check on John here.
So you know how my right leg just went underneath the chair.
Yeah.
And where it caught, the back of my heel pressed the bottom of the lever up. And then all of a sudden...
You're like flung upwards. You launched yourself out of your own chair.
Gravity. You know what happened? Well, it didn't go up. It went down.
It went down. I mean, it looked wild. It looked wild. I was worried for you.
My back just took about an 8-inch drop.
So something you guys should know.
Super lovely.
Our show is very dependent on John, a co-host really, and there is no Art Sherpa without John, and we need to always keep him safe. It's a little scary seeing anything happen to him.
I'm okay.
He's okay.
It gave me a start too. I was like, whoa.
All right, let's continue our blooming on. Right, I might kind of I might add a little water just to soften that little edge there a bit. You can do that and put a little more pigment. I'm just wanting some diffusion. I didn't want that line to be as hard as it was, and I'm going to just let that work itself out. I'm going to come down here. Now, the water this time, because I have quite a lot of pigment on my brush, may be slightly blue. Guess what? That's okay, because I'm not needing clean water at this exact moment. It's going to be a little more complicated on the downside because we have to start implying the dad's body underneath the water, and you kind of see it through a series of ripples, and we have to do that 2 layers to get that effect. Now when you do line and wash, the nice thing is by taking the anxiety of the drawing out of the process, it allows you to relax into the techniques. So I'm not going to go into the blue right away. I'm actually going to come back to yellow ochre. What's happening there? A little yellow ochre.
That would be a sneezy thing.
It's a sneezy thing, and a little burnt umber. And I'm going to, nope, I'm good. I would mute.
Oh, and is this
so
a
it's
new
a
step
little
here?
burnt
Hold on,
umber.
wait. Is this a new step?
Yeah. No, same step.
Same step.
This is just the background. We're going to come right along his little body here.
My gravity experiment threw me.
A little yellow ochre mixed with burnt umber, which is a pretty traditional pigment, so you shouldn't have any trouble with that. I'm going to go ahead and kind of bloom that out. You can see how it's definitely coming out. And then we do want to come in front of the young boy. I might get a little more burnt umber into it this time. Coming along his little waterline. Little burnt umber. And I want this arm to be implied right there. So I take a line from the shoulder forward, and we'll define that a little bit more in a minute. But what we're doing is kind of implying the dad is under here supporting his son. I know this is a little early for Father's Day, you know, but hey, the dads never get enough loves, do they? So I'm coming back with a little burnt umber right along his chest. Do you have a tissue? I feel like a feather literally just went up my nose. That's exactly the feeling that I'm having. I'm going to rinse out. All right. I think I'm okay. It's a feeling, not a fact. All right.
Here, I'm going to hit permanent mute on you for a second.
Hit permanent mute. We have to keep moving fairly quickly because we need the paper to be wet. We're going to go back to our blue. I'm going to make sure the edges here are wet up into the brown. And I'm going to come behind in the hair again. And now we're going to get back into our peacock blue. And I'm going to come from the bottom. Come along his little cheeky. A little reflection here. Just let it sort of go in. That's okay, right? A little bit into his hair. That was crazy. I really did feel like I inhaled a down pillow. How are you guys doing? You're okay, right? All right. So we're doing well. I'm going to get a little more kind of stronger on the toe there, and I'll come along here and maybe imply a little bit of a stronger color. And you can see I'm doing the tap tap along this water's edge. Loading up heavily. So if it was phthalo blue, you'd want a heavy load on that. The difference between the Viviva sheets and the watercolors, the biggest one is that they're not as liftable. So the pigment really goes into the paper much more. I'm coming along with the toe of the brush, and I'm kind of just playing with these little wiggles like you might do. I might go back to my burnt umber, and I'm just going to make sure that that's got a nice little okay. That should be perfect for the water. That's all we're going to do for the water. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
That's a bit of an intense first step, and you're really learning to work wet into wet and fairly fast mixing. One of the things that you're not seeing because I'm big and I mixed over here. Can you make me small?
Oh my gosh. I was
You were falling out of your chair. Okay, over here I have a palette. I have a porcelain palette. You guys should know I have ordered a small wet palette to see if it's a good alternative to porcelain for the watercolor, because some people have suggested that for pigment watercolor because it'll hold the pigment wet longer and allow you to do some more fun techniques. So I'm going to see if that's true. We're going to be testing that. But right now this is just the it's a metal tray that's coated with like the enamel porcelain coating, like a farmhouse sink. They're pretty inexpensive. So that's what we did there. Now we are going to paint another part of the painting. And generally what I do is I always try to think about like what's dry, and if it's dry, can I paint there? Because right now if we go too much into the wet, we might really struggle, right? And so I want to make sure that this is dry. I may go ahead and even dry it with my hair dryer so I don't have any blooming. But
Okay.
for this next part where you're painting an edge where a color that you have in one area, in one zone, is going to touch another zone, and you need that edge to be hard and not bloom in, this needs to be dry. If you try to paint it when it's at all wet, the color will seep in.
Gotcha. So you just gotta make sure you thoroughly dry there, and you know, it just may take a little bit more time with some of the thicker paper, especially if you're using our kit, because it uses a really, really thick watercolor paper, which is what makes it nice to be able to mount these. Now, as a trick, one of the things to keep in mind is Cinnamon went on Amazon and just bought 2 sheets of 1/4-inch acrylic plexiglass. And I think that she got them in like 12 by 18 or something. I'll ask her when she goes back. But she got them kind of large. They came in a 2-pack, and that's what we wet mounted to. And so we just peeled one side. We left the other side on there, but we peeled one side off, and then I just go into the kitchen, run the sheet under warm water until it's just wet on both sides, like really like fully wet, and then I stick it to the acrylic sheet and squish it down, pat it dry, and then just tape it, and that's worked out pretty quick. How big are the acrylic sheets you bought?
They're not acrylic sheets, they're wet palette sheets.
No. The plexiglass that you dry mounted, is it 12 by 18?
It's not. Yeah, it's 12 by...
Somewhere in there.
I can tell you what it is across. It is 10.5 inches across.
Okay.
This is 12
by 14 or so.
Yeah, so it's 10.5 by 14. It just gave me enough room. I feel like it should be bigger than that. Yeah, but you can see it. It's 10.5 inches, so that's like what it says. Oh no, correction. I was measuring to the tape. I had a visual moment. 11. It's 11 by 14 on the sheets.
Yeah, 11 by 14 sheets.
That makes so much more sense, doesn't it?
It does.
Now I'm switching brushes for this next step because I want better control. This is the Raphael number 6 round. It's an imitation Kolinsky, and it comes into a very fine point. You could use an Escoda. The Escoda La Perlas tend to come to those type of short points, but you want a watercolor brush that goes to a sharp point. I can get away with sometimes with Raphael Precision, any detail brush, detail travels, all those. And we're going to start just doing the skin. Now, the first thing that I want to do is I want to come over here. I want to use the right side of my brush. And I'm going to take a little of my yellow ochre. I'm going to put it aside here. Okay, I'm going to got that on my palette. And I'm going to come to my cherry blossom. And I'm going to mix these two together. So I've got ochre, and I've got the ochre and cherry blossom, and then I've added a little more cherry blossom to that. Okay, and then I also want to come down here, and on this far side mix a little bit of my burnt sienna in there. And then we're going to come all the way down to ink blue. See the ink blue? And I'm going to come here. And this is going to give me a little bit of skin transitions off of my pad here. So what I have is yellow ochre at the center, ochre and burnt umber. I have a little bit of the slate ink, the ink blue right there. And I have the cherry blossom right here. So that is where we're working, but I will work off this pad mostly. I'm going to get a very light load of yellow ochre first. And I'm going to wash in over everything the lightest yellow ochre. I don't want to have a heavy pigment here because I'm using my yellow ochre to be warm skin or sun-kissed skin where the sun is more on the skin and in the highlights. So I don't want it to be too much. You can see I came back with a dry brush and I'm picking up any extra ochre and I'm making it quite light. Now while everything is still wet here, I'm going to come get a little bit of that pink, that cherry blossom and yellow ochre, and I'm going to come to the bum bum. And I'm going to lightly pink in a little bit of that. See how we're doing? Just pink that in a little bit. It's nice. I'm going to grab a little bit of this here at the shoulder. Come up the ear a little bit and along the hairline. On the nose, just barely though. This is a very light effect. Along this far side of the face, the chin. Now, because I'm going to show you here, I have a very tiny brush. See how I'm able to go right there? Later at the end of this, I'm going to show you how to get in there with a detail tool that's going to make that a little bit easier. I'm going to come back over this with a little bit of yellow ochre. Okay. Now we're going to call this another step, but I don't want it to wet. So John's going to dry. So John's going to throw up the step and I'm going to keep working. You got that, John? Done and done. So now I'm going to get into the burnt umber. I'll take that right there. And I'm going to come along here on his back. Kind of behind his arm. Coming up from the water. Maybe grab a little more yellow ochre. See, I can use these colors to blend in. And then I wipe off on a paper towel. There we go. Come in with a little bit of the burnt umber. There's some slate gray. That's always nice. Okay. Back of the neck here. burnt umber coming under the chin line just a little bit. Just tapping up and down. Took a little mix of the yellow ochre, burnt umber, and the cherry there, mostly on the browns of that. And I'm going to pull back and really make sure that the area that's going to be the shoulder is lifted as much as possible. And I may come back and dust in a little pink here. I'm going to work this little area in the jawline with my brush. And come under his little hairline. A bit under his nose. A little bit right here across the top. And I may rinse out and blend that, but I'm kind of creating a little divot there.
Yeah.
And right from that part of the forehead kind of over with a little bit of that shadow. You can see that we're just starting to pull that in. A little bit over the eye. Okay, soften that with just a damp brush. I want it the way that it is for sure, but I want to let it rest and soften. Picked up a little blue, but that's okay. Not going to worry about that at that stage. Let's call that a step and we'll go work on Dad for a minute. Okay.
There's your step.
Oh, thank you. Step 4. Still on my good number 6 Kolinsky brush. Same kind of deal. I'm going to take a little bit of my ochre and I'm going to go ahead and do just a light wash on Dad. I will go back into his hairline a bit because, you know. Now I'm going to get into my burnt umber. Put it over there so I have a little control over it. Come under his little jawline here. On the interior, I might pick it up from here so I have a little control over it. Burnt umber. Kind of working some of his muscles. I'll do like a light little wash there over the ochre, but I don't want to take away that lightness, right? We don't want to take away, you know, the delicacy of what's happening. coming on the far side with burnt umber. Coming around on this far half. Kind of washing down. Just layering up his skin. Back up above the hairline. Building up, right? I'm leaving a little area light here. A couple places I'll leave like light because I'm trying to create, you know, zones of value. I'm going to soften around the nose. Now I'm going to come in with a little bit of that slate gray and burnt umber. Add a bit of a little shadow there, coming up to his little jawline. This is just sort of the muscles coming in. Maybe kind of play with stuff along the little water's edge here. Coming along the little water's edge. That's the slate gray and the burnt umber together. Talking about that shadow just a little bit more. And then I'm going to come in and grab burnt umber right off the palette. You can see it's quite dark, quite deep. And right under the jaw. A little more. Now, as I'm going, parts of him start to dry. Right? So as I'm moving, like this is starting to dry. You can see it's starting to hold an edge and starting to dry. So I can keep coming in and layering pretty safely and build up. I can always soften where I feel like softening is needed. I grab a little bit more burnt umber.
Yeah, here at the next step, we'll maybe announce someone else.
Yeah, I think we've got to.
Okay. Just want to make sure we're not forgetting.
Gonna add some little dark there. Start to come along his little nice sort of hairline here, and I'm gonna start to deepen this, making short strokes. This is just the beginning. This is not all. But we're just kind of creating that first soften that there. I will be kind of coming along and working out more of a jawline there. I might kind of come under his nose with my slate gray. Come to the corners there. Kind of right there above the lip. Maybe come up the jawline. We'll get there real soon, John, I promise.
There's no problem.
Come along the top of the lip. I think I'm going to kind of shade these two together. I'm making sort of a circular little motion. And you can see I'm just creating little planes of the face. Okay, let's do another giveaway. Call this a step. I am ready for it.
Okay, so do we before we call it a step? Let's do a winner before the step.
I mean, the winner is what I meant.
Do a
I
winner.
meant a winner.
That's okay.
That's what I meant.
That's why you're the painter.
I want to be bigger
and
for the
I'm
winner.
the co-host.
I want to be bigger for the winner.
Okay, we'll do the big winner.
So for those of you guys that were really excited about to do this one, I cannot wait to see yours. Remember the details on the face. I'm going to show you hacks, so like inside the eyes and on the lips and stuff. I'm going to show you some hacks for that, so that if you're just challenged with your brush, you can still get the result you want.
Okay.
All right.
So now I'm going to start clapping.
Okay.
Yay!
Yay!
It's Lynn Williams.
Lynn Williams, congratulations! Yay!
I can't scream too loud here. We have to do the fake loud yay, because otherwise then we scare the neighbors and everyone else in the house.
I thought they were upstairs.
They are, but still you can't
Oh,
just
okay.
go yay and scream loud, but I have to go yay, but I can't do that.
I mean,
But thank you.
Elizabeth's like, I just ordered kit 3, the bundle. Yeah, that's if you're wanting the kit with the sheets, the 8 practice sheets and the cards and the extra giveaway little strip and the travel brush, that's the one to get. And then if you these last for a while, so the next line of washes we do will have as like you can purchase just the papers separate of the kits. You don't have to get the kit every time. We'll always offer the full kit, but you don't have to get the kit every time.
Okay. So now we're going to go on to the next step. Ready?
Ooh, coop in the mountains. I hope that means chicken coop. Coop in the Mountains is updated store to include a wish list that can be shared with family. Do you think our new store could have a wish list system?
Yes, I think so.
I think I remember them saying that was a possibility. That's a possibility.
Neat stuff. So yeah.
Yeah.
Check back. Coop, if you want, you can email support@theartsherpa.com and we will see about answering your question specifically. But we're going to find that out anyway after the show, because I'm pretty sure I remember during the tutorial of stuff that there is a way that especially once you create an account on our website, that you can save like your favorite lists. You can make multiple lists. You can share the lists. It's kind of neat. And the whole purpose of that was, we want you to be able to have a project that you're sharing with your other friends to say, this is the stuff that I used, and it makes it a little easier. So anyway, we'll check that out. Next step 5.
Glasses back on, continuing on. All right, so let's come back into our base colors and our detail-y brush. Where did I always, there it is. Yay. Okay, I'm going to come back to our young sir. I'm going to get back into my burnt umber, and I will deepen it with the ink blue. I really love the ink blue in this set so much. Going to rinse off, get a little of the extra pigment off. Sometimes we get very heavily pigmented, you know. And I'm going to come back over to our young man, our baby learning to swim. Come in here and also maybe a little bit in front of the ear. I'm going to just put there, come under the eye, that inside corner, maybe a little bit on that lid. Soften that with my brush. Sometimes I do like to come back and pick up some pink, because I just feel like, you know, kiddos have such cuteness in their cheeks. So you just want to kind of exaggerate that a little bit. Maybe a little bit right there. A little bit on the far side. And let's give him a little bit of depth in the ear, right? I may also come back and add kind of a little dark little shadow there that I soften out just a little bit where there's a bend in his little body. I'm going to bring a little line up there to sort of accentuate the shoulder. And then I'm going to come back and sort of soften this one. See how we're softening it? And this is where good paper sometimes helps, because that way your paper doesn't look beleaguered. Come kind of underneath his hair. I like to create a little shadow under his hair. It's looking good. All right, we're going to rinse this off, and we'll go ahead and we'll call him a step. Calling him a step, and then we'll come in and work on Dad a little bit more. Let's work on Dad a little more. I'm going to come back to my ink blue, and I'm going to work that into my burnt umber. I'm going to come along his little jaw, and I'm going to make just fine little marks on here. Come under where his hair is going to be and maybe add a little bit of a shadow. Talk about his eyebrows a bit. A little bit on the inside corner of the nose. Now I'm going to rinse out. Kind of soften that shading on the nose. Can bring that down there, and we're also going to soften that shading on his nose. So, you know, we do want to have shading. Right. Pick back up because I don't want to soften it that much. I still want it to be there. Right?
Right.
We're just making sure that bring a little bit of shading down there. And I do think I want to, you know, kind of, that's maybe a little pinker than I wanted, but then I rinse out and I kind of blend it. See how we're doing? Yeah. And then you've got to kind of keep in mind that there's always this sort of color shift that happens where everything lightens up so much. So that really, really impacts that. Let's call that a step. And when we come back, we are going to do his little adorable swim diaper. I'm going to take a little of my vivid red, and we're going to come here and come in with a little bit of a wash. And then I'm going to grab my ink blue, my favorite one, the ink blue. I'll mix it over here with my bright red there, the vivid red. And I'm going to come along where the swim diaper kind of connects with him, and I'm going to add a bit of a shadow. I'm also going to do an interesting thing. I'm going to come inside the mouth Now, if this is one of the areas that you're having a hard time with, I will show you how to finish it with our detail work. But before we get into that, before we get into our detail hack, we're going to dry everything and then we're going to come in and do the hair.
Sorry about that, guys. I didn't realize that she was mixing over there, and I apologize. So what happens is that when we're doing the Viviva color sheets, sometimes she likes to be big, and so I'll make her big, and then I'll forget, and then I apologize. It's one of those, not paying attention things. I'm sorry, but I will try to keep more on top of the Sherpa sizes. Okay, so this is a new step.
Mm-hmm. We're going to do Dad's hair. I'll go ahead and keep using the same Kolinsky brush, and we're going to go to the, ink blue. I like the ink blue for this because it does some really gorgeous kind of granulation and pooling and blooming, and creates a lot of general interest. So I very much like it as a color. I'm pre-wetting his head. I'm going to go ahead and just right here, just start with a very light wash of the blue. We're going to build it up into the dark. Now, I'm going to come in and get a heavier load. And here on the outside.
Dark. It's just like, wow.
We're going to go ahead and put some little, we're going to define, we have a little bit of the definition there, but I still think it's fun to kind of piece some out. So you can see him coming on the edge, kind of, there's little tendrils. Of hair. Now I'm going to get onto my heavier load, and then along the line of hair around his face, I will definitely come in and play with that. I'm going to keep it wet too, because I do want the blooming effect to continue on, for it to be interesting and artful. Here we go. I am just trying to create that sort of multi-dimensional textural paint effect. So sometimes I come in with that heavier load, right? As this oxidizes, sometimes it goes a little more blue, and that's sort of fun to see. Come right here. I think it's important to just practice techniques and not stress on drawing. Just putting little accents on some of the outer curls. I think I'm going to come back with a little bit of my little ink blue. I'm going to exaggerate some of the eyebrows here. Okay, I'm just getting playful. Now let's do his son's hair. Yeah, we can be same step. Very similar technique, same color, so I think it can be the same step. Except we're going to be a little bit lighter in some areas because this is a baby. I'm going to come over here. Just with a light color at first. I'm pulling it up from my palette. This is still the ink blue. Just working that in. You can see I'm using the toe of my brush. Still leaning in on my lines. And then over here on the left side of his little head is where I'm going to be a little heavier with the pigment. Not as heavy as with Dad, but still pretty heavy. He's got beautiful head of hair. I think it's so great if you can get your kids into swimming. I did that with my kids, and I'm so glad I did. That's a doable thing. I highly recommend it. Just one of those weird things you can do to help your kids with safety. Though I'm definitely not throwing any parent shade because there's a bazillion things we can all do with our kids to help them be stronger in the world. I'm just saying I liked swimming for the kids. And John used to like going too. I'm going to go ahead and pull some tendrils out if you can see. Come up and kind of play with maybe a little bit here on the outer edge. All right. That's really good. Okay, let's give that a good dry, and then I'll come back and show you how we get the detail work in.
Cool. So, yeah, sorry about getting missing the little sizing there. Hope that all makes it a little easier. Yeah, I really like this painting. It's one of the little dad paintings that she's done. Don't get a lot of dad paintings, so I kind of like this one. So, yeah, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. If you want, you can share. Don't forget to check out our website because there's all that cool stuff out there on the website, like calendars. It tells you about what stuff's going on. You need another step now?
Yeah, give me another step. We're going to also get the swim diaper in real quick. Same brush, same vivid red, really loaded hard. I'm going to make little curlicues. And I like to imply like a pattern, something tropical. Maybe like a batik, something in there, really cute. I think we have to announce another winner.
I was wondering when we were going to do that. We were getting close to the end, so we're doing here pretty soon.
Yeah, let's do another winner.
Okay, I think that we only have one more.
That's right.
That'll be the third.
That'll be the last winner.
The third winner is this. So let's go back over here and go.
I don't know if I've seen. I know the winner.
The third.
Yeah.
So I'll recap. I'll recap. We'll go back
the way that we pronounce this is different than we've been saying it the whole time.
So first
4 years. So I apologize if Google was right.
The first one was Brenda Avely.
Brenda Avely.
Then it was Lynn Williams.
Lynn Williams.
And now the last winner is Irene. Now
Do you have the Google thing still open?
No.
Irene, we even went to Google and we're like, how do you say this?
And now I've gotten all jammed up. So because there's 3 different ways to say it. Give me 2 seconds. I'll get it. I'll remember it. It was cloaca. To go back and remember. But
Brenda Alvey's like, was I one of the
Cloaca.
winners? Yes, you were, Brenda.
So, and our third one, that's the only reason I paused. Irene Cloaca, and if you know your name, that
all
I
Irenes
have not
win. This is all Irenes win. I wish we could have all Irenes win. That would be really fun. Today is the good day to be named Irene. Okay. Yeah. So congratulations to our 3 winners. There's a comment from us left on underneath your comment that directs you to write support@theartsherpa.com. I will never direct you to text us that I can be aware of. I'm sorry about that. There was a spammer. We'll probably change how we do giveaways because of that. It's just a new spammy thing that they're doing. Man, they just spam faster than I can think of cool ways to give stuff away, don't they?
Yeah.
Their criminal commitment is almost admirable. Now, for the next bit, let's talk about some details. Now, in this, I hand painted out the facial features, and that's great because I have this fantastic brush, this number 6 round imitation Kolinsky by Raphael, and it comes to a very good point. Maybe you have an actual Kolinsky brush. Maybe you have an Escoda. Maybe you've got a brush that's a detail brush and you're fine with that, or you have a steady hand. But what if you didn't? So first tool I want to talk about is the Jelly Pen by Jelly Roll. I got to get the Jelly Pen going. So this is a highly pigmented pen, and it has a great detail nib. It works great with watercolors. It's a good way to get reflections in eyes, reflections in different locations. So we're going to be using that. The other thing that we're going to be doing is watercolor pencils. So sometimes where you can't get your brush, you can get a pencil, you can sharpen it. I'm using the Faber-Castell 3 opening sharpener, and I'm using the set of 12 Derwent watercolor pencils. I have Inktense on the order because I actually prefer the Inktense, but I really do also like the watercolor. In watercolor pencils, I like Caran d'Ache, I like Derwent, I do like Faber-Castell. Those are the ones that I personally have gotten to play with. Cretacolor has some okay ones, but those are the ones that I'm familiar with. So we're going to get out our pencil. And so if you're doing it in paint very delicately, you're going to be doing it with burnt umber, but I'm going to come here with my watercolor pencil and just very carefully color the brown of his eye. With the watercolor pencil. I can also come in and kind of get some detail work, can't I? On the nose, on any of that. All right. Another thing that you can do, and you don't necessarily think about, is that you can come in and use a pencil like this to create detailing. right? If I wanted to do that, I could do that. And then if you want to come back and play with that, you come back with just a wet brush, right? And if there's an area that you wanted to blend or change, that's what you could do because it's watercolor pencil. See how that softens? Now you could have just used a little bit of the burnt umber to come here and do some shading or any of that. But you can blend the watercolor pencil. The next color I'm going to grab is my black. I could also do my Pentel pen. And the reason I sharpen this beyond what I had sharpened, what they had done from the factory, is that I just needed a smaller point for the detail. But my point to this is that you can absolutely, let's come in here and look, we can color inside the mouth and darken that side, creating that great tongue effect. Another thing that I can do is I can take my little pink here and color in the lips very carefully. Very lightly. So if I was having trouble, right, getting the watercolor in there, I could come in and do that. Get my brush wet. If I needed to, right? I'm going to grab a little bit of my cherry.
Oh man, a little stretch.
I grabbed too much burnt umber, but that's okay. Come back through. See, I can just paint those features. That's not particularly stressful for me. So that's one way that I can get that kind of feature set in, but I'm not done. I'm not done. Another thing that I will tend to want to do is I tend to want to come back with my Faber-Castell Pitt Artist Pen. Maybe I kind of add some little structure lines. I might come around the eyes, the ear. And just make little accents. It doesn't take a lot to do a lot. Right? So you can still come back and accent. And then I can come in and say I want a little white reflection there, and then I can do that very easily. And I can come to maybe the top of his lids. And in that center, add a little reflection, and I can come to the top of his nose. Add a little bit for his lips. See how that creates little details? You can also do gouache here, right? So you can do gouache. A little bit on Dad. Maybe a little bit on his little face. Yeah, I think I also want to put some here. Right, so you could do this, or remember, we've got the Posca pens in white. 3mm is the ones that I prefer.
How thick is the palette the Sherpa is using? Can you tilt up that thing, maybe? It's just a...
Yeah, it's just a metal palette that's coated.
Okay, alcohol.
See, now this is a bigger, right? This is much bigger in its nib, so you may not enjoy that. You might prefer the jelly pen, but it's just important to know that these are things that you can do, right?
Can alcohol ink be used for watercolor? I have a bunch left over from a resin project.
Well, I mean, you can absolutely interact alcohol inks with watercolor. They are just a different media, but they don't have some crazy interaction, right? You've really got to do the alcohol inks over the watercolor, I believe, if that is my accurate memory. And some of the techniques don't work as great on the paper. I'm going to take a little bit of my cherry blossom and my burnt umber, and I'm going to come in here and kind of come over the lid, get a little bit of my dark brown and kind of come underneath, right there. I like to really sort of work his I'm going to come here and also make like a little bit of a shadow reflection kind of coming in there. So you just play with that and play with that until you're happy with how your dude looks. I'm going to come in and kind of take back some of that reflection off of his eye. Just a little bit. And lower it down because I want a little bit of the shadow on the eye.
Tanya says he's got the proud dad expression.
He said he does. He has the proud dad expression, man. Fatherhood. It's kind of awesome. And
Is that the last step?
Yeah, that's the last step.
That was the last. You're gonna sign it, or
I want to say congratulations. Yeah, I got to sign it. I want to say congratulations to everybody who won a kit today. Congratulations. I want to say I hope the ideas for how to handle some of the detail spaces in watercolor, because that doesn't just work now. Having jelly roll pens, right? Having watercolor pencils, just a set of them. By the way, Crayola will work. Just around for when maybe the center of a flower is overwhelming, some detail in a face, something is just frustrating and a little bit too much. That can make all the difference. I like to have Pitt pens and Posca markers around at all times. I just bought a bunch more black Posca markers. I've got more jelly rolls coming. I keep these in stock all the time. We will have stuff in the store. You know, and there's options like Tombo's got some good stuff. I have the ABT Tombo's. So there's a lot of good quality options. You're never stuck. I know faces can be a little bit frustrating when you're painting. Oh, I want to soften his little face. The shadow will lighten, but I want to lighten it anyways. There we go. What was I saying? I got so distracted by the shadow. Faces are hard,
It's funny.
right? Faces are hard, especially when they're small and they have a lot of details. So get better vision. Change your tools when you need to change your tools. If you don't have a lot of steadiness in your hand and you don't have brush control, change it out. And one thing, if you have a lot of alcohol ink left over from a resin project, also I want to say, if you see a pad of plastic paper is really what it is. It's plastic paper. It's resin paper. Grab some, because the stuff that you can do with alcohol inks and that is just so incredibly enjoyable and fairly unique, and it's just amazing. It will change your life. Also, if you just have, like, sometimes when I have a lot of art supplies left over from another project that don't really, like, I have so many Inktense pencils coming and so much stuff. So you guys are probably going to get some lessons with these tools because I bought them. I'm probably going to get into pan pastels. I do like Caran d'Ache, Derwent, and Faber-Castell for watercolor and for pencils in general. I'm not a huge Prismacolor fan, and that's just about, you got to heat the pencils. It's kind of a lot to get them off. It's just the whole thing, and
Oh wow! I just stepped
I
right
like
into
to
that.
just like to do my thing.
I
Now,
thought I was muted. Sorry.
we've got. Oh, do you guys want to see what we got coming up? Next week we've got rose practice. I did do it with the watercolor sheets, but you can do it with whatever watercolor you have. It really won't matter because the technique is what's important here. So we're going to work on our loose roses. We're going to just fill a page with loose roses. And then we're back to beginners again, a real beginner landscape that everybody can do, a desert sunset. And I use the Abstract Matte Soft Body 759 paint to get this deep matte black. That's how I got it. So this is how you can use watercolor and acrylic to do a really fun and easy painting. So this will be kid friendly, all level friendly, just a lot of fun. I think you guys will like it. So those are coming up. I don't have any credit cards. I got mad at them and cut them all up. Not to be their indentured servant would be accurate.
Yeah.
That's more of it is credit cards create an indentured servitude, where you're in a chronic state of debt to service.
Yeah. It's
Right?
no good.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, please repeat the winners. We'll do that one more time.
Okay, let's repeat the winners.
Okay, let's go back over here. And we go from the top. It was Brenda Alvey, Lynn Williams, and Irene
Why don't you spell it? Spell it.
Cholewka. But the
Cholka? See, I don't have it. John did the Google thing. So, yeah. Amethyst is excited about the landscape.
Colica?
I'm into that too. I'm very into that. That is
Cola?
very good. I'm into that. Yeah,
Man, I'm sorry. We tried.
So I'm going to say I would love John to do his spiel on credit cards for all of you guys out there. We watch a guy, what's his name?
Jasprit Singh.
Jasprit Singh.
So, yeah.
And if you want to have a completely different relationship to your credit cards and your financing and money,
Yeah.
Jasprit Singh is a high recommendation from us.
So his channel is Minority Mindset, and it's a financial education channel. Just like all YouTuber influencer people, take every bit of advice you get from YouTubers with a grain of salt, especially when it comes to finances. But he in general is not like a financial advisor. He's an educator, so kind of like us.
He's an educator like us.
He's like, here's why you need to understand what the different things in the economy, how they affect you, what all of these things mean. And so it's really good because you can understand how to change your mindset from a consumer to an investor to a and they have different kind of thoughts on this. And that doesn't mean you have to like invest.
It's a weird recommendation, but like it's been really good. Like Amethyst says, even if you pay them off, they send a bill next month just for having one, and that was my last straw. Actually, I think. Was it Einstein who said that credit cards were super dangerous?
It's complex interest is
super dangerous.
Was the most misunderstood and most dangerous.
And I think that's true. And I remember predatory lenders being in the university. I know a lot of young people end up in severe depression because they get into very early debt beyond student loans.
Choluca.
And they cycle.
That's right, Choluca.
They cycle out of that. And so I do really like him, and it's changed our relationship to it. And now we think of our credit very differently. And I used to hate my credit cards with the fire of 1,000 suns. Like, if you even were like, you can save 20% on this if you get a credit card, I would be like, no. I still say no, but I don't say it angry anymore.
now
I still say no, thank you, but I don't say it in an angry way anymore. And I think that that's the important thing. And that's right. They don't teach this stuff in public school, and there's not a lot of educators that I think are like me in the different spaces of education. I think a lot of people are just like, I don't get famous, but I find we watch him a lot, and when we have a question, and I don't agree with, like, I'm not a gold investor, so I don't necessarily agree with every answer, but I feel like the things that he has said is designed to help me be the best with my money I can be. And he's got like a free newsletter, right?
Yeah, and it's
good stuff.
From a high level, we don't own stock in anything. All of our money has been invested into this business, into what we're doing, into the employees and the equipment and all the stuff that's around us. So we are not at all Wall Street investors. We don't hold bonds.
No, this is about just a working person's relationship to money. How did we become an ad? We are not being sponsored by this dude. He doesn't even know who we are.
No, but
we are quiet subscribers.
This. Yeah, I'm just sort of giving you guys also a little financial disclaimer. What we're coming from here is how to be in charge of your own financial future is what we really think is a good thing to say.
Yeah, is being in charge and comfortable with your financial future is in the ever changing world that is finances now, because I think most of us are not in the 2%. And most of us are one hospital medical copay away, or one really good, crazy catastrophe away from being really financially uncomfortable, right? And I think that's the majority of people having that experience. So I certainly had a lot of anxiety and fear around finances most of my adult life, and I feel like his advice has helped me have a more optimistic relation, but not like he's like, go buy. He never told me to go get Bitcoin. I don't think he's ever said go get Bitcoin.
No.
So like he doesn't give that kind of advice. It's just sort of like, what? Here's when you buy a house. Don't think he says smart things about like why you buy a house and what you save up for and what you don't save up for, and
the relationship
have a relationship to money.
And also the relationship between the Federal Bank Reserve and local banks and you, and how all those things work, and how credit and the systems and interest rates, all that. So it's a general education, not a specific call to action.
I don't believe in conspiracy theories, but I do think that people are motivated by bias and self-interest and money, and that means that the people often in power are so incentivized to not look out for you and me, no matter where you are in the spectrum, right? The political spectrum or the life spectrum or where you live, right? Like, this is a global truth. The people that are in charge, they're out for themselves, and it's very rare that somebody is a public servant and cares about their community, and they're really just kind of always looking out for their interest, and it feels like trying to convince us that their interest is our interest. Like I should care if they're rich or not, or they're doing good
I
with
just
their
put a link
friends.
in there for you.
Huh?
Everyone was
Okay,
like,
cool.
what are they talking about? So there's a link.
So it has been my whole life where, and maybe this is a Gen X thing, but where you just like, you hear the people, the talking heads in charge, and you're just like, yeah, but you know, you're going to do well from that. But how does that impact me? And feeling very dispirited about it and frustrated. And, you know, and now that they've made the whole climate of the world just so crazy, you can't even talk to your friends about it. So having him has been great to just have a different relationship to it and a not stressful relationship to it and a not polarizing relationship to it. And just a sensible human, we have a currency and currency is a reality and I have to deal with currency so I can buy all my art supplies. I'm not paid by, I don't even know the dude. I'm just saying that was my experience. I also like Midnight Burger is a podcast. I have things I like. They don't know me either. I patron them, but I'm pretty sure they have no idea who I am. You know, I just like the things that I like, and this is a thing that I like. And if ever I see a good thing, a good art supply, or a really good thing that made my life much, much better, if I find out that there's a pill I'm taking that's going to like greatly improve my health or longevity, I won't keep it secret from you. I will tell you. I'll be like, oh my gosh, you gotta, but not like a pretend one, like a for real one. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like if I was for sure, for real, something was improving my life, I wouldn't hide it from anybody. I think that that's crummy. It's hard enough to get out there. So I'll show the good art supplies and the good stuff and financial advice so you can buy more art supplies. That's how I'm doing it. All right, everyone. I'm so sorry I kidnapped you into that. Goldie Ford is like, yeah, medical bills are awful. They are super awful. They are no joke. They're super, super, super awful. We could all just glower into a cup of cocoa over all of it, can't we? But I want you guys to be okay. Wherever you are, wherever you're at in your world, whatever you're about, I don't care what that is. Here's what I want. I want your families to be safe. I want your kids to be safe. I want you to feel okay. I want you to feel like your creative space is safe and sacred and your living space is safe and sacred. That's what I want for you. So I'm going to fight for those things. However that comes into my world from now into the end, regardless of the consequences of that. Yeah. And I want you guys to really take care of yourself, all of yourself. So be good to yourself. Be good to each other. And I will see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.